Alright team, it's time to connect the XY carriage to the Y carriage. So the end result is these two going together like this. But to get there, we've got a little bit of work. What you're going to need to complete this section is the other GT2 toothed pulley belt. And why these are called GT2 is there's actually 2 millimeters between each and every tooth on it. So you can get GT5s, GT2.5s, various ones. So your pulley belt, your last two smooth rods, the last two little 624 bearings. You're going to need this little Y block that we put in our parts box a long time ago. You're going to need two M4 by 12 millimeter screws. These are the big fat ones. For those guys, you're going to need 3 washers each, so you're going to need 6 washers for them. You're going to need 2 M3 by 20s with matching nuts. So the first step here is we need to create another couple of little bearings around this pulley belt, just like we had on the X carriage. So onto each of these M4 bolts, wind a single washer. These washers are amazingly tight, so you might need to use your pliers to hold them, or you might get lucky. But however it goes, you need to wind these the whole way on. Once they're on, place a washer over the top. This is not a washer, this is a bearing. Once you've got a single washer on, put a bearing on top. And then add 2 more washers to finish your stack off. Once they're all down, you'll then be able to install this guy to the left or the right of the pulley. Once he's in there, make sure that the pulley has no slack, and then repeat on the other side. Okay, with those washers in place, it's time to route your toothed belt. So make sure that the wires are exiting from the right hand side down the bottom here, and that this cutout is to this side. Then you can route the belt with the teeth pointing towards the top of the table, around this way, and at the top on each side. So when you pull the belt, you should feel the stepper motor winding around, and the teeth of the belt will all be pointing that way. If you've done that, then you're on the road to success. Now all we need to do is slide in our 2 smooth rods. So remember, gently twist them as you slide them in. It'll help them progress. This should be nice and smooth. Line them up so they're basically even. And then grab your Y assembly. So if you sit the Y assembly on top, you will get the idea of where this goes. So it all sits in there. But because this bit's a little high, it's not going to sit flush until we zip tie it in location. So that's going to require 4 zip ties. And we're going to finish the zip ties on this side. So push them in from the top, then back up the bottom. So, like always, I'll just get these top two started really loosely for now. Just in the top, through and back up the bottom. And then I'll do the same on the back end. So in the top, around, just very, very loosely done up. So heaps and heaps and heaps of space here. So we're going to need it when we try to put the rods in. These four all done up just a tiny bit. We can now hook it over the bottom end here. So carefully hook the rods over the zip tie and under the wood. And then you'll just have to twist these zip ties around the tips here. So the zip ties end up under the wood. And then you can start slowly piecing these guys together. Now that is our YZ carriage connected to our Y. Should be nice and smooth to slide. And the only thing missing now is, of course, the connections to this belt to make sure the belt can do the work for us. So to start with, we're going to sneak the belt through the back here. There's a tiny little hole on the wire top back that you can slide the belt through. So just keep slowly, gently wiggle it through so it comes out the back. And then we're going to grab a zip tie. We're going to double this belt back over on itself by about 20 millimeters and then zip tie it in place. So you might want to start the zip tie first because these guys like to get loose. Once it's doubled over, slide him on the end there, do him up quickly. And once it's tight enough, just lop it off the side cutters with your knife. And you'll see this bulge will not fit back through that hole. It actually creates a fairly solid connection there, stopping this belt going back where it wants to go. What we're going to do with this end is, looking from this side, the belt comes out like that. We are going to feed it through here. Feed it through this little Y connector. Now, before you zip tie it, you're going to want to attach this Y connector as loosely as possible using your two M3x20s. Set the belt in this guy, so obviously you want the belt going in the bottom of it, around and back out the top, so that when you zip tie it, you end up with teeth on teeth, because that's the strongest connection for this belt. It doesn't rely on the pressure from the zip tie, it just relies on these teeth interfacing with each other. So once that's through and loosely in place, slide this guy onto your M3x20s, and then put the nuts on the other end just enough so that this block won't escape. Okay, with that done, done, it is time to tighten this belt up. So just like you did the other side, get it as tight as possible, and then use a zip tie to contain it. You might want to start the zip tie, then when the zip tie is almost ready to go, do the tightening. Once it's tightened, clear that off, and now you should be able to use your Allen key to gently tighten these. Not until the belt is like a guitar. Again, you only want the belt to be just above, not slack. Any more than that and you're stretching the belt for no good purpose. So you can see my belt doesn't twang, but it doesn't sit loose. It returns to the spot it belongs. The only thing left to do is if your tail is a bit too long, you can just zip tie it back out the way or fold it out the way so it stays neatly out the way and doesn't interfere with the printer. That done, you have a completed YZ mechanism. It's time to move on to the next step.